44. On today's Danny.
I couldn't care for her the care that she needed.
In their time of need, a stranger was there to lend a helping hand.
There's a person that we didn't know that wanted to help save the life of our son.
Their stories will move you.
You're an angel in Adrian's life.
Saying thanks on today's Danny.
Today's show is very special because we're going to meet some people who know the true meaning of giving. All my guests today are going to be publicly thanked for their acts of kindness and heroic deeds by the people whose lives they've changed forever. Now, I wanted to start off the show with a story of inspiration. I wanted to stop and give thanks to a person who represents some of the hardest working, most dedicated, yet underappreciated people in our society, teachers. My first guest is a teacher herself and has been inspired by world-renowned educator Marva Collins. Please meet Louise Godbold and 3 of Ms. Collins' students, Dawn, Talmadge, and Kinana. Please welcome them to the show. Ms. Godbold, did I say that correctly? Godbold?
Yes, you did.
Great name.
And be careful because God is with me all the time.
All right. I'm going to watch myself. Tell us a little bit about Miss Marva Collins.
Well, Marva is just a darling person to get to know. She's not easy to get to know, but once you know her, she really is. I mean, she is the most giving person that I've ever met. And this is why that she works so well with children, because she gives everything she has to them.
All right, well, let's talk to some of the children. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Talmadge, I'll start with you. Is Ms. Collins the best teacher you ever had?
Well, yes, she's my only teacher.
She's the only, wow. I'll take that as a yes. How does she make you feel special?
Well, she gives us a lot of confidence. She doesn't stick with one child. She goes around, she gives everyone confidence. And when you think that you can't do something, she'll continuously tell you you can do it, keep on trying, never stop.
Wow. Talmadge, how old are you?
I'm 9 years old.
At 9 years old, the best I could get out of my mouth was, uh-huh. You're a very bright young man. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Dawn, tell us a little bit about Miss Collins.
Well, Miss Collins, she's very nice and sweet. She's my favorite teacher, I guess. She's really built up my self-esteem and myself. She's helped us in many ways, and we are very privileged to have her as a teacher.
Wow, this was great. Kinana, how about you? Tell us your ideas, your opinions on Miss Collins.
Well, I think Miss Collins, she's really helped us, as Don and Talmadge said, to build up our self-confidence and self-esteem. And I also think that, you know, she's one of the best teachers that we've had because she instills within us the hope that says, you know, we can be better than, you know, the average, you know, we can be above average. So, you know, so that we can succeed out there in life because it's really hard.
Let me just say once again, it's a privilege to have you 3 lovely, articulate children on that set. Let me ask Dawn, Talmadge, Kinana, would you like to thank Ms. Collins?
Yeah.
Well, then let's bring her on out here. It's a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Marva. You know, it's funny, it says Marva right here on my cards, but I'm going with Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins, now we hear how you've inspired others. What inspired you to teach?
Well, I think I've always been somewhat of a teacher. Having grown up in the South, I remember being about 8 or 9 years old, and I would go from home to home helping people, elderly people who would get letters from their relatives in the North and who had somehow not learned to read in school. And I remember going from house to house, reading letters from their relatives and answering their letters, and that pretty well became my job. I guess I was always somewhat of an organizer. I always wanted to play school, and I would get very upset if I couldn't always be the teacher.
Fair
I
enough.
never wanted to be the student. You know, as we would play the games in the neighborhood, I always had to be the teacher. Or again, if it was at Sunday school or church, I was always putting together programs and always motivating children to want to really achieve.
Now, there is a large perception that the public school system is just fraught with inequity. Is that why you opened up your own schools?
Well, I thought that it might have just been the public schools 20 years ago. But as I go across the country now, including foreign countries, I was just in South Africa in February. I've trained over 30,000 teachers in our methodology. I find that teachers in private schools, none of our children are learning as much as they must and they should in order to go into the 21st century and continue to be the preeminent country that we should be.
Now, what do you think? I agree. Bravo. I have a lot of ways, and I would think that, you know, children have always rebelled in one way or another. But it seems today, is it just my perception because of my age that I perceive a severe problem with the youth today, or has there always been, if you could focus that energy, they could always be helped?
Well, I think there's a severe problem as for self-esteem. We have the ideology that only inner-city children are failing. All of our children have very low self-esteem. Most young people hate school. They really do not like school. They see no meaning in it for them. I think, again, we must get schools once again where children learn to practice for the real world, where there is some meaning into them wanting to be there. When I taught high school, I remember children would skip that. If I was teaching 11th to 12th graders, the 12th graders would want to remain in my closet to hear the next class rather than go on to the next teacher. I think, again, it's almost a nonchalant turnstile attitude. I like for my students to know that I'm their friend as well as their teacher. It's not just a callous attitude with me. I think every student is important. Or for those of you who might have seen the 60 Minutes piece a few weeks ago.
I did. I saw that.
All of our
wonderful.
children, every one of our children, we have no dropouts. We have no students on welfare. We have no students who have children out of wedlock. All of our children are gainfully employed. And just the self-esteem of those young people. I like to know that every child, every student, regardless of their age, can always talk to me. There are no ridiculous problems. Because I think until there's inside victory, there can't possibly be outside victory. And I've always had a great rapport with all of my students.
You know, you say that it's very important for your students to know that you're their friend, but there's no forgetting you're a teacher. Do you see how fast I kissed up? Did anybody see the 60 Minutes? I did, Miss Collins. I saw it. I saw it. Well, this is your opportunity. You wanted to thank Miss Collins, and here's your opportunity. What did you want to say to Miss Collins? Feel free.
Well, I would like to thank her for building up my self-esteem, for preparing me to be self-motivated, self-generated, and self-propelled. Miss Collins, I would just like to say merci beaucoup. I'm thanking you for all the time that you have helped me and helped my self-esteem and helped me to learn that we are privileged for the education that we are getting. Ms. Collins, I'd like to thank you for being with me and supporting me throughout the 6 years that I've attended your school. You've helped to build self-confidence within myself, and I really need to thank you for that, and I appreciate it very much.
Ms. Carbone?
I would just like to thank you for just giving me the opportunity to work with you at your school, because truly I thought maybe I couldn't do it. And she insisted that I could if I tried. And I want you to know that I learned from you that learning is fun and that it is a daily thing. And every day of my life since I met you, there hasn't really been a day that I haven't learned something new. And I think that
And Miss Collins, I would just like to say, donnez-moi du fromage. I think it means something about cheese, but it's all I know in French. I'm sorry. All right, up next, we're going to meet a good Samaritan whose good deed may save this little boy's life. Please stay with us. Thank you very much. On today's show, we are thanking people who have done selfless acts that have changed people's lives forever. My next guest really understands the meaning of generosity. Even though he was working 3 jobs just to make ends meet, he found $600 in cash and gave it away. Please welcome Victor Pasala. You're working 3 jobs just to pay the rent and put food on the table.
Right.
And one of these jobs was at McDonald's, correct?
Yes.
How did you find the $600?
I found it while I was trying to clean the floor.
So you're cleaning the floor at Mickey D's?
Yeah.
And you find $600.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction when you found the money?
To me, it came a worry because whoever lost the money, you know, he may need it. So what I did is just try to find the people. And
you know, I got to ask you this. If you're working 3 jobs to make ends meet, even though it's probably not the right thing to do, you needed the $600, didn't you?
yeah, right.
And so you have the $600 in your hand. What did you do?
What I did, I believe I did a right thing to do. The way how I was taught and was later, and I called the police, and the police come over and took care of.
So you called the police and you said, I found $600.
Yes.
Why didn't you just keep the money for yourself?
Well, like I told you first, that's the way I was taught before, or my parents, and so I believe that, first of all, the money didn't belong to me, so I really would like, you know, the police to find out whoever lost the money.
And you ended up giving that money away, didn't you?
Yes.
Who did you give the money to?
After I gave it to the Sandoval family.
All right, it's time to introduce the Sandoval family. I'd like you to meet Salvador Sandoval and his father, Salvador Sr. Salvador's son, Adrian, has a rare disease that could kill him unless he gets a bone and marrow transplant. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Salvador Jr., I'll start with you. What did you think when you found out about Victor's donation?